Why do we vote for professional government jobs like county sheriff, county engineer, sheriff, etc.? The worst is the county coroner office. Why should scientific job be left to partisan bullshit? I interned at a local coroner office in college. He was telling me that the last election cycle a right-wing businessman ran and claimed that the coroner office was wasting too much money. The coroner I interned for had 12 years of education and 15 years of medical and pathology experience. Luckily he won, but by only a few hundred votes. Fucking nuts. I've never voted for county engineer, sheriff, coroner, road commission, but not engineer. If you had only the cops vote for a sheriff, you could have a conflict of interest. The cops just want the guy that makes them work the least hours and the most pay. Something like that. When you involve the whole public, you're trying to avoid that corruption. Unfortunately, people know more about a presidential candidate they've never met than the sheriff candidate, who has held 5 meet and greets, is active in the PTA, attends the local church and lives a quarter-mile down the street. In most states, electing the sheriff is written into the state's constitution. Back in Old England they had a position referred to as the shire reeve, later the words combined, obviously, who was generally appointed by and loyal to the royals and was a chief tax collector for the shire. In America, the county sheriff is generally the chief tax collector for the counties, among other duties. So we stole the shire reeve concept and threw an election in there to separate them from the larger government and hopefully keep their appointment and loyalty to the general public. We don't put enough emphasis on actually building up campaigns for those jobs, but those jobs are going to be elected due to the sheer amount of influence these people have on our daily life. The city and county engineers don't just have to have things that work. They have to be the kind of people who understand the priorities of the people they are taking into account. Thus, the citizens may actually want a say in who it is that fills that role. Our city engineer has to deal with major bridge work, and seeing her in action has shown just how tuned in she is to our city's needs. The sheriff sets the tone for the police department, so again the city has reason to want a say. Does the city want an easygoing sheriff who enforces the law when lawbreaking is likely to cause problems? Do they want a city that's tough on every little crime? A sheriff who prioritizes doing more with less? Or a sheriff who will push to get the resources the department needs to run well? How about a sheriff who prioritizes community relations? Ultimately, these high-level government roles are not just about the ability to do the job, but about the way the departments are run and the priorities they hold. And the best way we have to choose those things for a community happens to be an election. This completely blew my mind when I moved to the USA. I couldn't understand why I was being asked to pick the person collecting county revenue, or assessing property values, judging legal cases, or the top police officer. How could I, average Joe, possibly be qualified to do such a thing? After being here a while, and learning about American history and how the Constitution is the way it is, it still feels bonkers. This is incredibly weird about the US government, though. In continental law countries, all these works are usually done by career civil servants that does some kind of test to get into the job. You're asking the wrong question. Why do you consider the president or your congressional representative to be a more meaningful force in your life than a county engineer or sheriff? You elect your judges too. That's something that seems really bizarre to me. Judges should not have any political affiliation. So who do you want to appoint them? I've never heard of a county engineer being elected, though I'm sure it exists somewhere. In most US states, the county sheriff is a constitutional office. Sheriff elections can have issues and different elected sheriffs will target different policies. One may focus more on re-entry for those in jail, others will want to de-emphasize educational and work opportunities for inmates. One may want to strictly enforce cannabis laws and other may not, and so on. It's terrible that you're hiring politicians instead of professionals that can do the job better. We only vote for the members of the local council. It's incredibly bad the cities I lived in that did that were a shit show. It's far better when the top-level executive, mayor, county executive, etc. appoints and then are approved by the representative body of the voters. Then the public votes up or down after each term whether to retain. That still has some problems, because most of the public are remarkably stupid and there can be retaliation against a position that is correct, but politically charged, but it is better than filling the position with politicians. It's not a stupid question so much as it is a reflection of stupid governance. Certain positions shouldn't be beholden to public opinion, creates perverse incentives. You could ask the same about the rest of our election. No one is knowledgeable or takes responsibility for their actions, probably to avoid patronage. Can I ask where you're located? I've never heard of elections for engineers. County sheriff I can see. If they mess up they may be a single-term politician. Wish the police chief was like that. Though I did hear the mayor tell the city manager at least one person was going to be looking for a new job, and maybe two. Note, make sure your door is closed securely. City manager put the chief's termination on the next council meeting agenda and he was gone. BC they decide how X and Y is run, so if the people don't like how X and Y is run, then they have the right to put someone else in that position. Sheriffs and whatnot have their own priorities too, so you would ideally vote for someone who says they are going to do the thing you want to get done.